Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with a really exciting knife consult for you. As many of you may know, recently I acquired a Shirogorov F3. This was my very first Shirogorov knife, and I was really happy to get it. It's such a nice knife. I love the blade, and I have been carrying it more than a few times over the last week or so that I've had it. But this was special to me for another reason. I talked to a lot of guys about knives, and one of my very good buddies, he goes by Suprain Guru on YouTube and Instagram. He's an anesthesiologist friend of mine, and he was basically the one that invited me to, or pushed me really to start this channel to begin with. And so we have a very, unique relationship when it comes to knives, and we always push each other to purchase new ones. And he, after I purchased this F3 and I kind of extolled its virtues, he picked up this beautiful Shirogorov Hati R. And this one is a special version. It's a 3 Bears edition, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. I wanted this video to be a consultation on this particular knife, as well as comparing and contrasting these two knives and sort of understanding a little bit more maybe about Shirogorov. Shirogorov is sort of an obscure company to some people, and I'm still learning the language. I'm no expert by any means. There are certainly people out there that know a lot more than I do about the brand and about the lineage of the knives that are out there, but I'm going to do my best to explain it a little bit to you today. So Shirogorov really works in a lot of threes. I think maybe their favorite number must be 3. And I say that because they have 3 different divisions of how they make their knives. First, they have a production line, of which these are production knives. Then they have the custom division, which is a very much higher end version of the Shirogorov knives and handmade in a lot of aspects. And then you have full customs by Sergei Shirogorov himself. And so they also have within the production line a 3-tiered system within just the lower end, the production line. And that is designated by the term bears, or there's 1 bear, 2 bears, and 3 bears editions. So it's interesting here. This is my personal knife is a 1 bears edition, a 1 bear, and this is a 3 bears. And it really has to do with sort of the level of detail and the materials and the not so much the fit and finish. That's very consistent, but really it's the materials and the attention to detail. So on my 1 bear F3, there's no internal milling. It's a single row bearing system, and the steel is Vanax 35. Now, Vanax to me is a very fascinating steel, and I think that you'll see a lot of Vanax 37 on their newer knives, and you'll see that on some of the higher end ones too. So that's not a huge compromise on this. This one also has G10 instead of carbon fiber, so a little bit lower end in terms of the overall production. It also has this style of clip on it that's screwed on. Now, this one, being a full-on 3 Bears edition, this one has M390 steel, it has a multi-row bearing system, and it has deeply milled titanium liners, or at least the titanium liner on that side, and of course this blue twilled carbon fiber material right here. So very, very interesting to see the different delineations within the Shirogorov lineup. And so I'm happy to explain that a little bit. Now, if I'm wrong in that, maybe someone can correct me down in the comments, but that's what I've learned so far. So I'm going to move my F3 off the screen so we can talk a little bit more about this absolutely beautiful Hati R. So you saw the F3, that was the liner lock with the G10 scales. Shirogorov also makes the F95, which is the same size, but it's a full titanium frame lock, and this is the Hati, where one side is carbon fiber and one side is titanium on the handles. A lot of people think that this is the best compromise of all of them because it's the lightest of the 3 with this full slab of carbon fiber without a liner on it. And so there are a lot of people who love these knives, and I personally like it a lot. I actually handled a Hati 1 Bear edition a while back. It was actually Nick Shabazz's knife on washers. That ended up going out to my buddy Nico at today's Grail_Tomorrow's Beater. He's got that knife now. And it was a nice introduction, and ever since then I've wanted to grab one of these knives. So to see a fully upgraded Hati is very cool to me. So let's go ahead and see what we are working with, guys. So I'll pull out the ruler here. Up front, we have our 4-inch blade of M390 steel. All of the dimensions of these are the same. It's about a 5-inch handle. You got about 4.5 inches of grip area right there. Pull out the centimeters for my Russian friends. We got about, I think that they were talking about 95 maybe being the length of the blade here. 95 millimeters going on right there. And the handle length is about 125 millimeters, something like that. Look, I said millimeters this time. I didn't get it wrong. The Hati is very thin in the pocket. It's very nice for overall use. Let's see here. Overall dimensions, we're looking at 0.48 in the thickness. So just under half an inch. That's quite the achievement right there. That's very nice. So overall dimensions are very, very pocket friendly in terms of the width and the thickness. It is a very long blade coming in at 4 inches, so you'll have to consider that if you're wanting to pick one of these up. You have to be able to carry a larger knife like this. I personally love the more or less full flat ground nature of the Shirogorov blade. This thing slices absolutely beautifully. When I get to the final diagnosis of my own personal F3, I'm going to just rave about that. But I love the full flat grind. On these 3 Bears editions, also, you'll notice that there's a bit of a different finishing to the top of the blade here. They've included a little chamfering and a little jimping. The jimping is a little bit effective. It's not very grippy, but it's not slick per se. And it's nice to see a little bit of attention to detail. Of course, you've got what I consider the very cool Shirogorov Bear logo going on there. And on the back, it just says M390. I love the very clean nature of these blades. It's almost surgical, the precision that they make these blades. And they're just scary, scary smooth, straight from the factory. These guys know how to sharpen a blade. They know how to heat treat a blade, and you will not be disappointed. The thing I love about these blades is that they are beautiful, but at the same time, extremely functional. This is as useful, the blade is as useful as any Spyderco knife you can possibly imagine. So speaking of which, why don't we bring out a couple of Spydercos for some size comparisons here. I've got the Paramilitary 2. So you can see the Para 2 is a big knife, and this Hati is considerably bigger. Here's the Mannix 2. I'll go ahead and bring out some American competition right here. Here's a ZT0606 BLK, another 4-inch knife from Zero Tolerance. I absolutely love that pairing. That's a very cool couple of knives. Bigger carries. I love the size and the weight on there. Here's my 0392. If I had to compare Shirogorov, the production company, to any single U.S. manufacturer, it might be Zero Tolerance in terms of the overall quality. Of course, Shirogorov is significantly more expensive. Speaking of more expensive, here is a Microtech Combat Troodon. So you can see this Troodon is a pretty big knife. But the Hati is keeping up with it right there. So those are some good size comparisons. I think a lot of people are familiar with those knives and those sizes. Moving back, it runs on a multi-row ball bearing pivot system that is insanely smooth. This is significantly smoother than my single row bearing system. Even when I adjusted this pivot, it stayed just this incredibly drop shut smooth. I can just do this all day, and it's a lot of fun. So the detent is absolutely amazing. It's very strong on this knife. I've found that my finger slips off of the relatively small flipper tab every now and then. It's really not an annoyance, and that's certainly not a deal breaker. Once you get used to the strong detent, it's nice. But you see how smooth that is. It's unbelievable. Moving back to the handles, we have this very, very nicely done blue twill carbon fiber. You can call it carbon fiber. Blue twill scale. This is done by the company Carbon Plate. This is a European sort of fiber manufacturer. At least they make these fiber plates and things like that. They make a lot of different types of specialized carbon fiber and these twill scales, and they're absolutely beautiful. Back here we've got an anodized titanium liner, blue anodized with the gray clip. The clip is also upgraded on the 3 Bears model. It functions beautifully and it looks super awesome. I love that they've done the lock bar cutout on the inside. It allows it to not bunch up in the pocket. This knife is absolutely spectacular, and I am just envious that it's so much nicer than mine. That'll not be my last Shirogorov. I will be picking up some more in the future, and I will be looking at these 3 Bears editions. Tell me what you think of this knife down in the comments below. Tell me what you know about Shirogorov knives. Help us all to learn a little bit. Follow me on Instagram at Dr. Frunkey. And as always, guys, this is Dr. Frunkey saying, take care.